Alright, so hello everyone. We are in this particular science lesson that we will going to discuss today. And in this lesson, it is somehow connected to scientific method. Okay, so in a scientific method, we have several steps like identifying the problem, observation, hypothesis, experiment, and analysis of result and the conclusion. Okay, so that is scientific method. Now there is one part. Okay, there's one part of the scientific method there, which is very important in this particular lesson that we were going to have, and that is the dependent and independent variables. Not only the those two variables, but also and the constant variables. Right? So let's hop on the lesson that we will going to have in this particular session, and I hope you will learn something from this discussion. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so in this particular lesson, we will going to discuss the dependent and independent variable. Okay, so what are the things that you are going to expect on this lesson? So number one is you need to identify the variables in a particular experiment. Not only in a particular experiment, but in a real life situation, you can use these variables like constant, independent, and dependent variable. Okay, so these are the things that we were going to learn on this particular video. Okay, so before we start, I know you are familiar with the answer on this particular equation. 1 plus 1, obviously, it's not 3, it's not 4, but there's only one answer on this equation. So 1 plus 1, automatically, that is 2. Okay, so what makes it what do you think this equation has an answer of 2? Okay, so when you add one and another one, you will always come up with 2 unless you change this one. 1 plus 2, this not anymore will become 2, this will become 3 now. Alright, so what happens is when you change one number here, it affects the answer. So what is the connection of this to our variables in science? Okay, so let's find out. Then, okay. Okay. So now, if I happen to show you an equation like the one that we have right here, 2 plus blank, alright? So 2 plus blank is equal to blank. So as we all know, we don't know the answer because there's no number here that will give us an answer over here, right? So, but if you put some numbers on this part, it will determine what will be your expected answer. Okay, just like 1 plus 1, we have 2. Okay, it's not 3, it's not 4, but 2. Okay, so it depends. Okay, so we have, if you put there 2, automatically you will expect an answer of 4. Okay, so next, if you put 4, you will automatically expect an answer of 6. Okay, so, and more so, if you put larger than 4, like 50, your expected answer will be 52. Alright, so if you put 100 here, you are already expecting that the answer is 102. Alright, so you cannot change the answer as long that you put a number here that will give the expected answer over here. Okay, so if we change one number, it will affect the answer. That's how a science experiment works. Okay, if you change one factor, it will affect the other. Okay, that is how variable works. All right, so therefore the answer is dependent on the number that we put on this underline. Okay, so next. Ah, okay, how about we try we change the constant value. All right, so like the one that we have right here. Okay, so we have 10. Okay. So we have 10 and we don't know the answer here. All right? So in a sensible manner, we will not be able to answer here because there is no number substituted on this particular place over here. Okay? So if we put for example, if we put 2 here, what will be the expected answer? Obviously, it will be 12. All right? So if we put something like 50 over here, the answer will be 60. Okay? And if we put something like 20, something like that, so the answer will be 30. So it means that the answer depends mostly on this one, not on this particular number on this side. Yeah. Okay, so okay, what does this particular math problems have something to do with science? So what is the connection of this to science? Okay, so number one, in math we use variables, which is sometimes a number, or most of the time letters like x and y. Okay, x, y, z. Yeah. So that is math. But in science, we treat variables not only by numbers but also by factors. Factors like sunlight, fertilizer, height, okay, ability, okay, performance, something like that. So those are variables. So these are in science we called it factors. Okay. So these variables can be changed. Yeah. So factors can be changed. And just like 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, so factors like this one, if you change this one, it will affect the other one. Okay? So and more so if you change this one, it will affect the answer. How about the other one? If we will not change it after all. Okay, we will not change it after all since it is constant. All right. So if we change this constant, it's not anymore constant. That's why it is called constant. Eh. It doesn't change. Yan. The only one that change is this number that we have right here over here, and this one determines what will be your answer. Okay. So that's the constant variable. Okay, so what about those the other variables that we have, the independent and the dependent one? Okay, so the independent variable is a factor that is changed, all right, that is changed by the person who do the experiment, and these independent variables affects, all right, affects the result, and the result will be called as the dependent variable. This is the factor that is measured. Okay, this is the factor that is measured in a particular experiment. Okay, so independent and dependent variables, and the other one is the constant variable. Okay, so there's another one which is called the control group. Yeah. So which is called the control group. The control group is something like a group that that contains mostly constant variables. All right. Mostly constant variables. For example, if you put a fertilizer on a plant, all right, the other plant doesn't have fertilizer. Therefore, that group of plant is called the control group. All right. So that is the independent variable. Let's have a summary, short summary. Independent and dependent variable. And more so, we have the constant variable, and the other one is the control group. Yan. Okay, so these are the variables that we have. And okay, so Independent and dependent variables are very important in a particular experiment. Why? Because if you cannot identify the independent and dependent variable, your experiment will mess up. All right. So, meaning to say, the results that you are expecting, all right, you are expecting to have is somehow will likely to cause an error. All right. Just like what we have right here, 1 plus 1 equals 3. How did it happen? That 1 plus 1 becomes 3. All right, so this is the case when you do not when you forgot to identify the variables in your experiment. Okay, so moving on. Okay, in math problems, as I've said earlier, it uses variables mostly in numbers. Okay, so and how does it fit in science experiment? So let's have one example here. All right. So imagine there's an experiment that you will going to conduct, and what you will do is that which food, all right. So which food works best on your plant? All right. So all of these are hypothetical food like Miracle Grow, Joby Stick. I don't know what Joby Sticks is all about, and another name brand. Okay. So which of these plant food is suitable for your plant to grow healthy? All right. Okay. So you may want or you please make sure that you only change, all right, one variable that will get you to your expected result, or else your experiment will mess up. Okay, so let's try to find out. Okay, now let's analyze that particular experiment. What will be our constants? All right, what will be our constants in in that particular experiment? So number one is soil. All right, what makes soil a constant? Because if you will plant, all right, if you will plant these plants in a particular type of soil, one plant from plant A must be, or the soil from plant A must be similar to the soil in plant B and to the soil of plant C. All right, so it happens that plant B has different type of soil and plant C, it will affect your result. All right, number two is water. All right, so certain amount of water is needed, right, in order for your plant to grow, and they must have the same amount of water that you will put on this plant so that you will achieve the results that you wanted. All right, and another one is sunlight. Right, so amount of sunlight. Yeah. Okay, so how does sunlight becomes a constant variable? Okay, so okay, for example, the plant A is you will put under sunlight the plant A for 1 hour. So as plant B should be 1 hour and plant C, because if they are different, for example, plant A you put it on sunlight in 1 hour, this one is 2 hours, and this one is 3 hours, your result will mess up. All right. So that is soil, water, and sunlight, and also the type of seeds that you will the type of seeds that you will use. Yeah. So whatever seeds is that. For example, we have here if this plant A is eggplant, if this one is eggplant, group B should be eggplant as well. Eggplant. And also group C, eggplant. Right? So if you use different type of plant in this particular experiment, you will achieve different results. All right, so those are the constants. I know you can put it in the comment section what other constants that I might have overlooked here, or I might missing here. So you could put it down in the comment section. All right, so next one, the independent variable. So how many independent variable do we have here? All right, actually, if we generalize this thing, we have one. We have only one independent variable, and that is plant food. All right, that is plant food. But if we will going to be specific, all right, we will going to be specific based on the statement. We have Miracle Grow. Right, so we have Miracle Grow and Joby Sticks. Okay, and other brand. Right, so these are the independent variable. Okay, but if you sum them all up, these three, it's just one. All right, plant food. Okay, next one, the dependent variable. All right, so the dependent variable that we are going to look forward on this one. So this is on the mathematical side. This is 1 plus 1. This is the answer. Yan. All right, so this is the answer. If 1 plus 1 is 2, in this experiment, what we are going to expect is that we are trying to find out the plant growth. Okay? We are going to find out the plant growth. So in this plant growth, which plant allows which plant food allows the plant to grow healthier? All right, which plant allows the plant to grow shorter, and which plant dies with the use of that particular plant food. All right, so these are our dependent variable. All right, so I forgot. We have what they call the control group. All right, for example, I will just add it right here. So we have the control group. What is a control group? So a control group is a group that doesn't have this plant food that you have right here. You just plant an eggplant on that side. We called it control group CG, and it contains the same constant. All right. And the difference is the independent variable. So the independent variable doesn't have any of this, right? So the control group doesn't have any of that. Okay, so and you will also observe the plant growth, right? So you expect that the plant will grow on that one. Okay, so you expect that the plant will grow. You do not expect that it will grow healthier or whatever will happen, because that is a control group. So I will just only observe the plant growth, nothing else. All right. Unlike on Group A, Group B, and Group C plants, you will study their height, the color of the leaves, and the diameter of the stem, and so on and then so forth. All right. So that is our experiment. Now, if we put it like this. Okay, so we have here the list of constant variables, the independent variable, and the dependent variable. All right. So next one. Okay, if we write it into a particular statement, so from that tabulation, we can come up with this statement or paragraph. Yeah. All right. So we can include also the amount of plant food given. So what makes a plant food part of the constant? Because of this amount. So there are certain amount of plant food that you will give to the plant. All right, so not all of them will have different amount of plant food. For example, Group A will receive 100 grams of plant food. Then Group B will also receive 100 grams. And so as, what do you expect? So Group C will also have 100 grams of that particular plant food. So what do you notice? So we notice that they have the same amount of plant food given, regardless of which plant food it is. All right, and we have the independent variable, so the brand of plant food. Okay, and we have also the dependent variable, which is called the health and the growth of plants. So whatever it is that you are going to measure, as long that it is somehow measurable. All right, so yeah, so that is a dependent variable. So again, dependent variable depends on what the independent is all about. Okay, so next one. Okay, so in constants, all right, so in constants, so we have the same types of amount and then so on and so forth. So that's this is the summary of everything that we have encountered earlier. So later on, we will have an example of this, a working example of this. Okay. All right, so then that's it. So that is 1 plus 1 is equal to or constant plus independent variable is equal to dependent variable. So these three variables are very important. Without one, if one is missing, you cannot conduct a particular experiment. All right. So next one. Okay. So before we go to these particular examples that we have right here, okay. So let's have first this one. Okay. Now, in a science experiment, you usually use a graph to show or you visualize what is the relationship of the variable. This is the time that the relationship of the variable like direct proportion or inverse proportion will come into play. So if you are confused where to put them, for example, we have here the Cartesian plane. Okay, so we have y-axis over here and x-axis over here. So most of us are confused whether what place in this Cartesian plane, which place or which axis, we will put the independent and dependent variable. All right, so in order for you not to be confused, I have a mnemonic over here that will help you somehow understand and do not forget the placement of this variable, especially the dependent and the independent ones. All right, let's start first with the word dry. So what does it mean? D means dependent, okay, and R means responds. Responds to what? None other than the independent. Responds or is a responding variable. Okay, we can call it responding variable and it is placed on y-axis. Okay, so meaning to say in this y-axis over here, we have the dependent variable. All right, so let's go to the other one. On the other one, we have M stands for manipulated variable is an independent variable. Independent variable. And it is placed on x-axis. So, meaning to say that this x-axis contains the independent variable. That is why in science, alright, so the relationship between distance and time, the distance is the dependent variable and time is the independent variable. Alright, so this will be on a line graph, but you can also have a bar graph and putting the dependent and independent variable on y and x axis respectively. You can also have a bar graph like the one that I have right here, and we will use the example earlier, the experiment earlier. So the y will be the height of the plants, for example, height. The y will be the height and the type of plant food that you gave to that particular plant. For example, Miracle Grow, Joby Sticks, tapos others. Alright, and others. Okay, so in this case, you will be able to track down which plant food using the bar graph achieved an efficient plant growth. All right, so that is the bar graph. There are types of graph for every kind of situation. All right, you can use different graph in different kinds of situation. Not only line graph, but also for bar graph. But also you can use bar graph. There are many ways you can visualize your experiment. Don't forget to analyze it first, analyze the dependent and independent variables in order for you to identify what type of graph are you going to use. All right, so we cancel this one out. Okay, so let's go back to this one. Okay, so that was the graph. So don't forget dry mix. All right, dependent is a responding variable and manipulated is the independent variable and it is placed on x-axis while the dependent is on y-axis. Right. So Let's move forward. Okay, so let's try these examples that I have right here. So, for example, a student grade depends on how much she studies. So, if you're going to analyze this particular scientific statement that I have right here, so the student grades from the word itself depends. So, the student grade will fall under the dependent variable. So, student grades. Right. So, meanwhile, the independent variable is the amount of time she studies. Yeah. So, amount of time she or he or she studied. Okay. So, that is number one. Okay. So, did you get it? So, the control or the constant variables. Alright. So, you just think of it. What are the constant variables in this particular situation? Okay. So, I give you one constant variable. So, constant. Right. So, I give you one constant variable. For example, study place. Right. So, the study place should be conducive. The study place should be conducive so that it will not affect the overall result of this study. Alright. Next, number 2. Okay. The height of a plant and the amount you water it. Okay, so if you're going to analyze this one, so the amount of water will fall under the independent variable. So this will be the amount of water. Meanwhile, the dependent variable is the effect of the amount of water to that particular object. So that is the height of the plant. Alright, so when you water the plant too much, does it does it increase in height? Or when you water less the plant, does its height decrease? So, height of the plant, that is the dependent variable. So, what are the constant? We can have the soil, we can have the temperature, and so on and then so forth. Alright, next one. Number 3. Okay, on number 3, the amount of money you make and the number of hours you work. So, this is a very tricky statement that we have right here. Okay, so the amount of money will be dependent on the number of hours of work. So, meaning to say, the dependent variable will be the amount of money. Meanwhile, the independent variable is the number of hours you work. Okay, so that is the independent and dependent variable over here. Okay, so what are the constant? Okay, so I just give you one constant. The constant might be nature of work. Right, so nature of work. So the person should have the same nature of work. Okay, if you will compare different person, they should have similar nature of work so that you will be able to track down how much money they earn on the number of hours they work with. Okay, next one, number 4, number of sodas you buy and the total money spent. Okay, so number of sodas. Number of sodas is somehow affected by the total money spent. Alright, that you did. Alright, so meaning to say the independent variable on this particular situation is the independent variable is the total money spent. Right, so the total money spent. The number of money that you spent depends on the number of sodas that you will have. Okay, so meaning to say the dependent variable is the number of sodas, or rather it is the otherwise. Okay, the number of sodas is dependent on the total money you spent. Okay, so that is the independent and dependent variable. And lastly, number 5. Okay, the number of houses you can paint depend on how much time do you have. Alright, how much time you have. Alright, meaning to say, if the time, alright, so the time or the number of houses is dependent on how much time. that you have. So, meaning to say that the dependent variable will be the number of houses, and the independent variable will be the time uh the time that you have. Right. So that is the independent and the dependent variable. All right. So basically, that is the basic idea about the independent and dependent variable. So if you did learn something on this particular lesson, if you gained some value on this particular lesson, so hit the like button on the hit the like button for this video. And if you have something to ask, all right, just don't hesitate to write something on the comment section. If you want to be updated to more videos like this, just hit the subscribe button and the notification bell on that particular on this particular video. And basically, that's how this video ends. So I hope you did learn something from this, and we'll see you next time. As always, subscribe to my channel and peace out.